Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I'm creating an art journal page, so get comfy and let's get crafty. My page today is going to be created on this piece of mixed media paper with a napkin. This is a napkin I purchased. I will link the store down below. They sell one of napkins, so you can buy one instead of 20 of the same thing. I'm also using a page of dictionary paper. This is an old dictionary I bought from a thrift shop. The spine was already coming off, so I felt like this would be a good book for me to use for not book purposes, to use for paper, background papers and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and apply that dictionary page to my art journal page or my mixed media paper with matte adhesive. This is a fluid adhesive. It does take a little bit more work and a little more adhesive to get it laid down because this dictionary is an older one and the paper is a little bit thicker. And you can see the back of it. I used it as a roll-off page when I was working in, probably with my gel plate one time. There's little braille lines on the back of that page, which I suppose in theory I could have used that side and it would have just been more texture to the background, but the color palette was not the same as my napkin. So that's why I didn't, because the color palette was not the same. I'm going to go ahead and add more media or more adhesive to this, and once I have the front covered and I've made sure that all the edges are down, I'll go ahead and heat set this with my heat tool. Make sure it's good and dry. I'm going to trim it down off camera and set it off to the side to begin working on my napkin. So this napkin has the image going in fourths, right? So if you fold it up how it's supposed to be, all the images are the same. So I'm going to use a wet paintbrush and some water and just tear this apart. Often when I use a napkin for art journaling, I will put it down in one piece and use that as the background, the thing that breaks the background, that eliminates that white. Instead of using one solid piece today, I'm going to cut this into fragments. So I used almost like 2/3 or 3/4. I guess I have one little part of one square left on my desk. So I used about 3/4 of this entire napkin. It's like a tea-size napkin, so it's not, like the 6x6 or 5x5 inch napkin. And I'm just using the paintbrush to go around and separate the dragonflies. There is a section of this napkin that has a text block. I'm separating those little postcard words. There are some postage registration or cancellation marks. I am just separating those. I did find it a little bit easier to separate it and then or to water cut it with the paintbrush and then take the backing off. It held together just a little bit better with that extra ply on the back. I'm just going to continue to take apart this napkin until I have as many pieces as I think I will need to add a background to my art journal page. My plan here when I started this page, I found a napkin in my stash. And this was the napkin I wanted to work with. And then I tried to figure out what I could have those dragonflies, what kind of images or themes that those dragonflies could contribute to. I did not know at the time if I wanted the dragonflies to be the main image or the background image, and they kind of are both in this case. So I went through my die collection and I found a die set of a gnome house, a little mushroom gnome house. It's from Simon Says Stamp that I kind of forgot I had. I used it a whole bunch when I first got it, and then I kind of forgot it was in my stash. So I decided I would use that gnome house with the dragonflies. I felt like that kind of went together as kind of a garden party theme. Now, the color combination in this napkin is kind of a lavenderish gray. So and then the dragonflies are kind of that aqua, that teal color. So I did have to kind of take that into place keep that in mind rather. And aqua in the dragonflies will look nice with the red cap of a mushroom house. So that's kind of the palette I went with. The coloring of the die cut is not in the video because my camera wigged out. I've been having a lot of problems with my camera losing focus lately. And I don't know what's going on with that. Anytime I change what I'm doing, it seems like my camera just loses focus. So I'm not sure. I need to go in and check the settings and make sure I haven't messed something up or, I don't know what's going on with that. So you will not see me coloring the house, the little mushroom gnome house, and that's okay. So to blend the napkin, top edge of the napkin, into the background, the dictionary page, I've added some gray distress ink and a little dot of lavender distress ink. I don't remember what colors they are because I put them away before I wrote them down, before I did the voiceover, you know, all the things. I'm using a makeup sponge to blend that edge in. This kind of makes that napkin edge disappear, and it also is going to blend the dictionary page into my napkin without completely covering all of the words. It did need a little bit more color to it, so at one point I put a teeny tiny bit of black distress paint into this blob on my desk and added more gray and lavender to it so that it would kind of get a little bit darker. It's kind of one note here. So adding that tiniest bit of black ink with some more of the gray and lavender really helped add that depth of color that the napkin had, because the napkin has, like, it has a gray background, but it has darker gray and lighter gray foliage prints on it. It has some script, you know. So having it be one color in that upper corner was a little bit of a giveaway that the napkin hadn't gone all the way up. And again, I left that corner blank partially because of the fragments I had and partially because I wanted to. All right, to add some more texture to the background, I pulled out my Tim Holtz rub-on stickers. I'm just grabbing a few and adding some numbers, shapes. At one point, I added some stars across the top, but they didn't stick because the paint was still too wet, so I moved them and added them to the side. I've got an eyeball here, which is a really cool sketch of an eyeball, but I don't know what else I would use it on other than to put it in an art journal page. So now we're going to add our dragonflies. I zoomed through that rub-on phase because sometimes those take a really long time to get off of their backing. So I'm just cleaning up the edges. I shouldn't say cleaning up. I'm removing more of the edging around this dragonfly tail so that there's fewer layers right there in that area. And I'm going to start adding the dragonflies to my art journal page. This was a little bit harder to cut because it doesn't have that second ply on it. So it was very, very fragile, especially once I added the water. I did later on decide to not wet the napkin and tear it. And I tear it instead of cut it because a cut edge is way harder to blend into your background. It is much easier to lose those torn edges than it is to lose a straight cut edge. So that's why I tore it. We added a little bit of that's a royal we here. I added a little bit of the fluid medium to the background and then put the dragonfly on top. His tail is going off the page. That is totally okay. In fact, it is preferred. It makes it look like the image extends past the borders of the page. So here I'm going to put together my little house. And I tried to use this the fluid adhesive, the matte medium, whatever you want to call it. And the paper that I cut the house out of was just a little bit too thick. It's like 110-pound cardstock. It was just a little too thick. So I ended up pulling in my Tombow glue. I painted the door of the house kind of a shimmery aqua, which kind of mimics the color of the dragonfly wings. And that was kind of intentional. Pull it all together. So I did have to pull out that Tombow glue. And this bottle looks like it's about empty. I'm having to shake it a lot more often. And I'm going to insert the door, and then I can insert or put the windows in. This die, I don't know if it's even still available, but it is so cute. And it has all of the things pop out, like the little yellow parts of that window there. They came out, although I was really careful and didn't pop them out because I didn't want to have to put them back together. I went around the edges of the window with a Pitt pen, but the roof and the house and the door are colored with acrylic paint. The door is colored with kind of a shimmery acrylic paint. I'm going to go ahead and add the top of the mushroom on and then put the little shadow pieces in. They have this die is so detailed, like this little roof, the cap, even has parts that cut out that you could make a darker color to add to that shadow, which I did add a little bit of black or gray paint to kind of deepen them up a little bit. I don't know that it was super effective. I'm going to The little dots that it cut out, I did not add any paint or anything to. I just left them the white paper. And once I have them in, I'm going to add some enamel accents over the top of them. That was great for texture, but not necessary, right? I mean, it really was not necessary. It just adds, like if I'm touching the page, I can feel that enamel on the top. So I'm going to add a couple more dragonflies here. I wanted to put the house on first, and I'm kind of having the dragonflies like they're flying around or toward this little mushroom gnome house. And this is the dragonfly. I realized I should just tear this without getting it wet, and it was much less, it was much more stable, even though it still has a tiny little tail piece. It was more stable. And again, just using the fluid medium, and I can pick that dragonfly up with just the tip of my brush because it's a little more stable because it's not wet. Napkin, I know. See, you know what I'm talking about, because napkins are not, they're not exactly the most stable thing in the first place, especially these really pretty ones. When I buy napkins for like picnics on dinner table and stuff, I don't buy pretty napkins. I buy the good, strong Bounty napkins. Let's be honest. Pretty napkins are for making art, not for wiping your face. So I added a quote to this page using the Tim Holtz Chit Chat stickers, and the quote block I chose was, "You can do anything, but not everything." And I find that very applicable in my own life right now, personally. I have my hands in lots of pies, so to speak, and I feel like I should be doing all the things, and something has to give all the time, right? There's always something that has to give. In my house, it's usually the clutter. The clutter wins. And then the cleaning ladies come in, and I love them so much because they want to clean my house and I don't. So it's a win-win for me. I added the enamel accents to the top of, or the white spots on the house here. And then I thought it needed more white dots, so I pulled out that Hero Arts kind of enamel pen because it has a smaller tip. Yeah, not necessarily. In fact, I don't necessarily even love how it turned out. I could have left those other 3 dots. And then I added some, this is Tonic's Crystal Glaze or whatever it's called, to the windows to kind of make them a little shiny. Just because I was already adding wet stuff, I may as well. I added a little bit to the doorknob to make it shiny. And then I signed the page. And that's it. This page was really fun to create. I don't know that it had the outcome, like the outcome that I intended, but I like it. And it was just fun. It was just a fun day in my craft room. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I have a couple of other videos here I think you will like. I've also added that subscribe button. If you have not subscribed, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you like the gnome theme that is so prevalent right now. Give me a thumbs up and have a really fabulous day.